resellers are getting pretty desperate in Tokyo Disneyland.
They've been in a full meltdown about this girl. This is going to go down in history as an asterisk next to Rachel Zegler's name.
Babe, this is not a glitch. This is a nightmare in glitter packaging.
A company like Disney so up against it. Why? Because it doubled down on DEI.
What was supposed to be the triumphant launch of Disney's bold new era has just crashed straight into a merch graveyard. And at the center of it all, Rachel Zegler, the girl who was handpicked to redefine a classic fairy tale and ended up watching her Snow White dolls disappear from shelves like a bad spell was cast on her entire brand.
And then what do you know? They try all this updating. They get this lousy screenwriter, in my estimation, because I saw this thing and it was awful, like really, really, really bad.
Let's be very clear. Disney doesn't fail like this. Their princess merch, it's the gold standard. When they launch a new princess, the stores light up. Kids beg for the dolls. TikTok lights up with glitter hauls, and the branding, unstoppable, but this time, something's off. The shelves aren't selling, the displays are vanishing, the products are being quietly pulled, and nobody wants to talk about it. No ads, no fanfare, no final markdowns, just silence and empty space where Snow White was supposed to shine.
Whoa. We're talking about ultra-far leftists, people who believe that men and women are a figment of your imagination, that your money is not your own, that your family is not your own, and that your country is not your own. That's what woke means.
This isn't just a bad sales week, it's a total PR. Ghosting. And the industry is starting to whisper what nobody wants to say out loud. Did Disney just launch a princess the public didn't want? And worse, is Rachel Zegler's Snow White already being erased before her movie even premieres?
I don't really care about that. What I care about is how she hated the story because it needed to be wokeified, and she hated the fact that there was going to be a Prince Charming of some sort, and they needed to update it.
It didn't take long before stores started whispering. Sales reports leaked, shelves stayed full, parent forums started buzzing about how no one's kid wanted this Snow White doll. The online reviews? Painfully blunt. One read, "Bought this for my daughter." She said it wasn't the real Snow White and asked for Elsa instead. Oof. Then came the markdowns. First, it was 10% off, then 25%. Then entire end caps of merch quietly shifted to clearance aisles before the movie even hit theaters. That's unheard of in Disney terms. And then products began disappearing altogether. Independent toy stores were the first to drop the line entirely, with some employees leaking that management told them to phase it out discreetly. Larger retailers started restructuring displays, aka hiding the Snow White shelf behind newer, safer, trendier Disney merch. And now, multiple. Reports claim select stores have stopped ordering Snow White stock altogether. Not out of stock, not seasonal, pulled, gone, unsellable.
And there was no tension, there was no drama, there was like nothing in that set. All it was an empty movie.
So why the sudden vanishing act? It's not just bad sales, it's bad energy. Retailers aren't just reacting to numbers, they're reacting to public perception. Every time Rachel trended, it wasn't because of love, it was drama. The press, tour, a disaster, the interviews, condescending. And every time she opened her mouth to reimagine Snow White, it drove a deeper wedge between the character and the consumers who loved her. Parents don't want to spend money on a doll tied to controversy. Kids don't connect with a version of Snow White they've never seen or heard of. And Gen Z, they're not lining up to buy fairy tale merch from an actress who's become more meme than movie star. One industry insider reportedly said, "We can't push a product the public's actively rejecting. It's just not good business anymore." Translation? Rachel Zegler isn't a draw. She's a deterrent.
This is going to go down in history as an asterisk next to Rachel Zegler's name.
TikTok and Twitter are already buzzing. Videos of barren Snow White shelves are going viral. Store employees are low-key filming entire displays being taken down. Parents are making haul videos showing what's left from the Disney section. And Snow White? Nowhere in sight. One post with over 2 million views showed a side-by-side of original Snow White merch from the animated classic. Bright, joyful, magical, next to the newer version with Rachel's face, captioned, "Guess which one my kid picked?" And the comments, "Savage." They tried to sell Snow White without the joy and thought it would work. I've never seen Disney merch flop this hard before. Imagine being the first Disney princess whose doll got pulled before opening. Weekend. The internet's not just noticing, they're clowning. And once it's a meme, it's done.
A completely spineless, feckless prince buys his swimsuits at Target. It's helpful to be able to tuck. And Snow White is Snow Brown. Now, I don't have a problem with the fact that she's brown. I'm just saying everything about this has to be changed when it doesn't really need to be changed.
And of course, babe, Rachel has noticed the shift. No official statement yet, but you can feel the meltdown brewing behind the posts. Her feed has turned cryptic, distant, passive-aggressive. She's dropped lines like, "Some stories just aren't meant to be for everyone. I'm choosing peace, even when it's hard. And the kicker, they don't have to love me. I love me." Which, okay, queen, self-love is everything. But when your merch just got yanked from the shelves and no one is defending you, it's giving Instagram philosopher trying to survive a brand collapse. Even her stans are low-key backing off. There's only so many times people can write, "You're so strong," before they start asking why you need so much strength in the first place.
Disney decided to hire the most insufferable girl boss narcissist that exists on Earth, who hates Snow White.
But when Disney starts going quiet, that's the real red flag. No statements, no tweets, no follow-up. We're proud of our cast fluff from the official accounts. Just nothing. And in Hollywood, silence is the sound of a strategic retreat. Sources are whispering that after the merch began vanishing from shelves, internal meetings were held to reassess brand optics, which is code for, do we still want Rachel as the face of this reboot? Allegedly, some departments are now being told to focus more on Snow White as a legacy brand, and less on Snow White as Rachel Zegler's reimagination. Translation, they're soft launching the separation. They're not going to fire her. They're not going to replace her, but they might just fade her out, promo-wise. Marketing-wise, merch-wise. If they can't rely on her image to sell the products, they'll do what Disney always does best, pivot, quietly and fast.
So Disney is another company that's been in hot water. They've been in a downward spiral.
Let's talk money, babe. Movies make headlines, but merch makes the empire. The mouse doesn't survive on box office alone. It survives on backpacks, dolls, mugs, tiaras, and Halloween costumes. And if Rachel's Snow White can't sell, it's not just a loss. It's a threat to the model. Insiders allegedly warned that early focus groups flagged concern. Children weren't connecting with this Snow White. She didn't feel magical. She didn't look iconic. She didn't have that instant "I want to be her" factor. And now that that's reflected in real-world retail failure, Disney knows it's time to course correct. And that means stepping away from Rachel's version as fast and subtly as possible. Expect future releases to push ensemble visuals. Less of Rachel on the box, more of the castle, the animals, generic princess branding. It's not a coincidence. It's a damage-limiting maneuver.
The most insufferable girl boss narcissist that exists on Earth, who hates Snow White.
Let's talk about what the internet's doing with all this. Because, babe, this flop is going viral in the worst way possible. Entire TikTok accounts are now dedicated to tracking stores where Rachel's Snow White merch has disappeared. People are making reaction videos to empty displays. Retail workers are stitching with captions like, "POV, corporate said take it down before someone asks why it's still up." One TikTok with over 4 million views shows a side-by-side of Rachel's merch being boxed up while the original Snow White plays in the background. Soft singing, glitter sparkles, fading hope. The comments? Brutal. Imagine being erased before the movie even drops. Even the shelves said, "Not my princess." This is what happens when you make the promo about politics, not magic. And here's the thing. Once the public decides something's a joke, it sticks. That's how branding dies in real time. Not with outrage, but with mockery. And now, Rachel's version of Snow White is becoming a punchline in the toy aisle.
I also like how Disney doesn't have any, new ideas. So
Right.
what have we done before that's worked? Let's do that again.
Yeah.
Here's the hardest truth, babe. Rachel doesn't have the backup anymore. The internet isn't defending her, the studio isn't rescuing her, the merch is vanishing, and the strong female lead narrative she clung to, it's falling flat. When the consumers don't see the fun, the fantasy, or the fairy tale, she tried to give us woke royalty, and instead gave us an image people aren't connecting to emotionally, visually, or as a brand. Her latest posts, soft-lit selfies, staying strong captions, vague believe in yourself energy. It's not connecting because you can't out positivity a brand collapse, and PR can only spin so much. They can say she's misunderstood. They can post sweet behind the scenes videos, but they can't change the sales numbers. And they can't force people to want a doll they don't recognize as Snow White.
And so I've got some bona fides here on being fair. The movie was absolutely terrible.
This is where the speculation gets dark. Some Disney watchers think the studio already made their call. Not publicly, Not dramatically, but strategically. Here's the playbook. Let the controversy burn itself out. Stop spotlighting Rachel. Shift focus to the timeless tale. 4. Pray the movie quietly clears the slate and moves merch again in a year or two, with no specific actress attached. It's not scandalous. It's surgical. Disney doesn't cancel, it redirects. They'll still release the film, sure, but after that, Rachel's version of Snow White might disappear faster than the merch did.
When people say woke, what they really mean is they're describing a worldview that hates you, that hates everything America stands for.
Let's not sugarcoat it. When you're the face of a 300-mailer Disney reboot and stores start pulling your merch before the film even hits theaters, that's not a setback. That's a branding crisis. Rachel Zegler didn't just star in a film. She became the symbol of it. Every poster, every teaser, every press piece pushed her as the bold new face of Disney's most iconic princess. So now that her Snow White is being quietly taken off shelves, that rejection isn't just about the doll, it's about her. Studios and marketers look at what sells, what sticks, and what moves. Right now, Rachel isn't moving anything. The kids aren't asking for her version of Snow White, the parents aren't buying it, the core Disney fandom isn't reposting it, and that makes her a risk, not just for this film, but for future casting, sponsorships, and partnerships. Let's be real, if a Rachel Zegler doll can't sell during a Disney princess rollout, what brand wants to put her on a billboard for their own launch? The it girl energy is gone, and the merch told the truth before Hollywood would.
Has proven to be Disney's worst investment ever in the history of Disney investments. I mean, they've gone through various scandals with this girl.
Now here's the real spill, babe. When something like this happens, it's not just Disney taking notes. It's everyone. Brands, agents, casting directors, PR firms. They're all watching how the public reacts and what the public spends money on. And right now, the message is loud. Rachel Zegler doesn't sell. Her interviews turned people off. Her sound bites went viral for the wrong reasons. And her merch? Cleared from shelves like expired product. She's not trending for her talent. She's trending for drama, dragging, and digital damage control. And the industry is shallow, babe. They don't need to say it out loud. They just stop answering emails. The opportunities that were once lined up, getting quietly rerouted, roles that were waiting for her post-Disney, suddenly going to the next girl who didn't turn her fairy tale into a TED Talk, and brands that once saw her as fresh, young, and marketable, now see controversy in a red lip and a Disney dress.
I don't really care about that. What I care about is how she hated the story because it needed to be wokeified, and she hated the fact that there was going to be a Prince Charming of some sort, and they needed to update it.
This isn't just a moment. This is a mark, a scar that sticks. Because unlike bad reviews or a canceled press event, a merch pull becomes history. Remember, Disney Princess merch isn't just for now. It lives in collections, in archives, in resale markets. But Rachel's line, already being referred to as the Forgotten Princess Drop. Her Snow White doll is becoming collector's cringe, not collector's item. The problem? That stigma follows. Every future campaign, every brand meeting, every casting session, someone will whisper, "That's the one whose merch didn't sell." And the industry is petty like that. They remember, she may land future roles, sure. She may even slay in them. But the stain from this merch flop, it's there. And unless she lands a massive cultural win soon, it'll be the reference. Point in every boardroom for why her buzz doesn't always equal bankability.
When people say woke, what they really mean is they're describing a worldview that hates you, that hates everything America stands for.
Let's be clear, babe. This isn't about Rachel getting canceled. She's not trending because people are angry. She's trending because people are tired. Tired of her constant defending. Tired of the preachy tone. Tired of the manufactured empowerment quotes that feel more rehearsed than real. People didn't stop liking her because she was controversial. They stopped liking her because they didn't feel connected anymore. And that's what makes this moment so dangerous for her. Because once the audience checks out emotionally, the marketing won't work. The roles won't resonate. The merch won't sell. And her star won't rise, no matter how many PR statements her team puts out. It's not hate, it's indifference. And in entertainment, that's fatal.
Disney decided to hire the most insufferable girl boss narcissist that exists on Earth, who hates Snow White.
So, here we are. Snow White hasn't even premiered, and the product line tied to Rachel's version is already in the discount bin of public opinion. The girl who was supposed to usher in the next generation of Disney royalty can't even keep her face on the shelf next to Elsa. Is it over for her? Not yet. But let's be real. This is the last warning bell. If Rachel wants a career after this, she needs to change everything. Her tone, her messaging, her connection to her audience, and most importantly, her self-awareness, because the fairy tale she thought she was rewriting, she ended up casting herself as the villain, or worse, the forgotten side character.
A completely spineless, feckless prince buys his swimsuits at Target. It's helpful to be able to tuck. And Snow White is Snow Brown. Now, I don't have a problem with the fact that she's brown. I'm just saying everything about this has to be changed when it doesn't really need to be changed.
The worst part of all this, Rachel Zegler might not even realize what's happening behind the scenes. Because when Disney drops a star, they don't do it with a press release. They don't tweet, "We're done here." No, babe, they fade you out. It starts with pulled merch. Then you disappear from the next round of trailers. Promotional material shifts to animation. Ensemble posters replace your solo shots. Suddenly your interviews are limited, your name doesn't come up in press junkets, and the final cut of the film, trimmed tighter around the message, looser around you. That's the plan. No scandal, no splash, just a slow drift into Disney obscurity. Like you were never the princess at all, and the worst part? The public won't even notice, because they've already moved on.
Whoa. We're talking about ultra-far leftists, people who believe that men and women are a figment of your imagination, that your money is not your own, that your family is not your own, and that your country is not your own. That's what woke means.
Let's zoom out, because this merch fail, it's bigger than Rachel. It's a wake-up call for Disney. For years, the brand's been pivoting their princesses. Less romance, more realism. Less sparkle, more message. But this Snow White reboot, with Rachel leading the charge, was supposed to prove the formula worked, that a modern, bold, love-is-dead princess could still move product. Instead, the opposite happened. And now that the merch flopped, the studio's probably in full strategy mode, asking hard questions like, do people really want their princesses to lecture them? Have we lost the balance between empowering and enchanting? And most importantly, do we have to go back to what worked before? If Rachel's Snow White was supposed to launch a new Disney era, this moment might mark the end of that vision altogether. The future princesses might just get a lot softer, a lot sweeter, and a lot more careful. Because, babe, when the dolls stop selling, so do the dreams.
It just takes a beloved movie and makes it much more boring and much less realistic. The movie is really, really bad.
This flop didn't just hit her merch, it hit her brand. And now, Rachel Zegler is standing on the edge of a career cliff, staring down two paths. One, she doubles down, plays the victim, keeps dragging the haters, keeps pretending this is all just a misunderstanding, that the merch didn't flop, that the audience is just too slow to get her vision. Or two, she wakes up, reads the room, reinvents, drops the superiority, starts connecting again, laughs at herself, learns how to pivot, and maybe, just maybe, saves what's left of her star power. But let's be clear, babe, she's out of wiggle room. The industry already sees her as a risk. The audience has already stopped clapping. This isn't a mid-career wobble. This is her defining moment. And if she fumbles this next move, she's not Snow White. She's Hollywood's latest cautionary tale.
Very few people wanted to see this. Even the little kids who like Disney movies, even they don't seem to be turning up in droves for the movie because the movie is really, really bad.
Once upon a time, Rachel Zegler was supposed to be the face of a revolution, a rebranded Snow White for a new generation. But instead of a fairy tale, we got a franchise flop, an unsellable doll, and a story that left everyone feeling just a little bit disappointed. It didn't have to be this way, but when the star won't listen, the audience won't buy in. And when the message outweighs the magic, the merch stays on the shelf until someone quietly takes it down. Rachel Zegler wasn't just dragged online, she was rejected at retail. And in Disney terms, that's the real end of the story.
The primary suffering is being sent in by my company to watch a children's movie as a single man, like 2 p.m. on a Thursday. That was the first part that was a little bit weird, but I was basically the only person in the theater.
Is this just a merch glitch or a full-on signal that Disney and the world is officially over Rachel's version of Snow White? Is there still time to recover? Or did this princess lose her crown before the ball even started? Sound off? In the comments, spill your hot takes below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you're always the first to catch the next celebrity flop or fairy tale fallout. Because in this kingdom, it's not the poisoned apple you need to watch for. It's the moment when no one wants your doll anymore, and babe, we just lived it.